So I finally got my hands on a Harley Benton Fusion Telecaster, the Fusion T. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the pros and cons to this guitar, as well as doing a couple of demos to find out whether or not it's worth your time and money. Let's dive in. So these guitars are available from thomanmusic.com. They do ship from Germany. As you can see, the box arrived in fairly good shape with the exception of this one corner that was punched in. I ordered 2 guitars, so the box might be a little bit thicker than if you only order one. But they did have this paper here covering the corner, and it prevented any real damage to the instruments. Upon opening up the box, one of the things I noticed right off the bat was that the tools were kind of laying all throughout the box, and this was because the bag had actually torn open and it left the tremolo bar and another tool in the bag while the Allen keys were kind of like strung throughout the box. Thankfully, the guitar was wrapped really well and it prevented any damage to the paint. So this color is known as Daphne Blue. This guitar is available in a bunch of different color combinations, but I happen to really like this because I don't own anything else like it. Between that and the roasted maple board, I happen to think it's a really unique guitar. All right, so this is the guitar here. The body is a Nayato wood. I did a little bit of research on that, and from what I could find, it's a little bit more of a harder wood that's being used on some of the more inexpensive guitars these days. The neck itself is a roasted Canadian maple neck. All right, you can get try to get you a better look of it from here. And the fretboard itself is roasted maple. It has ivory dot inlays, and the neck itself, the profile is a modern C. The fretboard itself has 22 medium jumbo stainless steel frets. It is your typical 3-way switch on a Telecaster. You have a volume, tone, and it is coil split with push-pull. So the hardware on this guitar is all chrome. You have a 2-point Wilkinson tremolo bridge, and you have WSC locking tuners. And last but not least, Roswell Alnico 5 pickups. I'll try to get you guys a better, closer up look at those. So I'm going to go ahead and do a few quick demos to give you guys an idea of how this guitar sounds.
Tell me, man.
All right, how about a heavy tone? Let's try that. A little rusty, but you get the point. So that should give you a good idea of how this guitar sounds. To be perfectly honest with you, I think it sounds really good. I think it's pretty versatile, although it really does excel with that like quintessential rock tone, kind of like, the Zeppelin-esque, AC/DC, even like a Stone Temple Pilots tone. I think this guitar would be perfect for it. I think the last demo I did with the high gain was a bit much for it. And, really, if you were looking to do some Metallica type stuff or some heavier rhythms, you'd probably bite on the one that has the EMGs built in. And yes, Harley Benton does make one of these Fusion models with built-in active EMGs. At the time of this video, it's around, I believe, the $400 price point. So I would consider that if I was looking into, metal rhythms or higher gain stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pros of this guitar. And the first pro, of course, has got to be price, right? At the time of making this video, this guitar was $266 US. The downside, of course, is that international shipping was $78, but there is a little bit of a workaround to that. The workaround, of course, is that it costs the same amount to ship 2 guitars. So your options are either buddy up with a friend and each of you buy a guitar and split the cost of the shipping, or buy 2 guitars. So by doing that, that really brings the cost of shipping down to $40 for a grand total of $306. And I think you would be very hard pressed to find a guitar with this type of spec sheet for that price. And if you do know of one, by all means, please leave it in the comments and maybe I'll end up reviewing one of those soon. And that brings me to pro number 2, the spec sheet on this. Locking tuners, tusk nut, stainless steel frets, Wilkinson tremolo, and of course the Roswell Alnico pickups. All combined for quite a great value in this guitar. Pro number 3, the pickups far exceeded my expectations. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I was expecting to have to replace these pickups with something that would probably give me a little bit more low end and sustain. And the reality is these pickups sound really good, and they really was probably the most surprising part of this guitar. Pro number 4, the fretwork is fantastic. Really happy with that. No sharp fret edges, all the frets are level. They could probably benefit from a good polishing, but all in all, they're actually really nice. And of course, pro number 5, setup was surprisingly good as well. Might need a little bit of a tweak, but definitely playable right out of the box with minimal fret buzz. And pro number 6, the locking tuners are actually quite nice. They have the right amount of resistance on them. They feel like a quality product. The guitar's also stayed in tune really well and has needed very little tuning. And now it's time for the cons, and to be perfectly honest with you, pretty much all of these issues are issues that I would expect to find on a budget instrument. With that said, I still feel these are important to mention because I've seen a lot of folks in the Facebook group forums for Harley Benton complaining about some of these issues, and then, being like, hey, I saw all these glowing reviews of this guitar, and mine has these imperfections. So with that said, I'm going to mention them just so you kind of know what to expect. Number 1, there was minor imperfections in the paint, very minor, and I'll try to get close-up photos of those so you guys can get an idea. This is not something that would ever bother me, but I'm being extremely picky for the sake of full disclosure. Also, they don't paint all the way down into the route, and I've seen a few people complain about that as well. I didn't even really find it noticeable and never probably would have noticed had it not been for a few people mentioned that in the forums. And also there was one fret where it looks like they went after it just a little bit too aggressively. Again, minor issue to me, but something that I have seen mentioned. The second con was the tone switch. The resistance on it is very inconsistent and it's really loose. Almost feels like it's kind of cheap and won't hold up over time. Thankfully, I don't ever use the tone knob, so for me, not a big deal and probably won't ever be, but for you, might be something you need to consider. So who's this guitar for? Well, first of all, obviously it's for anyone who's on a tight budget or anyone who may be looking to stretch the value of their dollar. This would also make an excellent guitar to gig with because right out of the box, it's pretty much set up to go. In fact, I was a little bit disappointed. I was planning on using it to mod out a little bit, with some different pickups and whatnot for content for my channel, and now I'm really just kind of happy with the way that it is. And overall, I think this is a fantastic instrument for the money, and you'd be hard-pressed to find something better for the price. So if you're curious about the other Harley Benton that I have and the mods that I've done to it, be sure to check out this playlist of videos right here where I have all the different videos of the mods that I've done to it. If you have any questions, by all means, leave them down in the comments, as I do try to answer all the comments that come through on the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.